What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So we actually have a very interesting update that I want to go over today because some are questioning whether the Federal Reserve is playing a political game, specifically the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Now, this could be potentially what's causing the stock market to crash, but this also could be an opportunity to buy in and make a boatload of money if the market returns. Also, going to talk about whether or not stimulus was causing or what is causing a current or potentially current recession. So all eyes are on the Federal Reserve. So let's get down to talk about exactly what is going on. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to talk about the Senate, because right now the Senate is planning on taking up 2 votes next week. The first one, whether this is first or second, I don't know, but one of the votes that they're planning is to vote on the $33 billion for Ukraine. The purpose behind this is to get additional funding over to Ukraine so that we can hopefully get back to normal, which would mean Ukraine would battle out with Russia, Russia would pull out, and we would go back to normal. That's kind of the purpose by the $33 billion. Now, whether this happens or not, I don't know. The other bill is the abortions bill. Okay, this is one of the things that after the leak that happened earlier on this week by the Supreme Court, this is something that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says we have to have a vote on. So that's what they're going to vote on. Now, currently, the Senate's also working on a bill for $10 billion for additional COVID funding. Now, here's the issue. According to multiple congressional aides, they say that COVID funding has actually taken a back seat to these other 2 pressing issues. So again, it's interesting what Democrats are doing, but this is their plan, is to push COVID funding back to address the abortion rights and also to address the $33 billion towards Ukraine. But here's the problem. The problem is that Democrats, as of right now, they know that they have to pass more funding. They have to pass some bill, or they risk not being able to remain in control of the House and the Senate after this upcoming midterm election in November. Well, here's the issue. Democrats don't know how much additional funding they can pass because they know they need to pass a bill, but they are worried that if they pass too much, it would cause upward pressure on inflation, and that would hurt the American people, which if they hurt the American people and voters would not vote for Democrats. Now, there's something else that must be taken into account, and I thought this was very interesting. Because what happened today was the Dow Jones dropped more than $1,000 today. Now, this is more than 3% of a decline. This drop has many investors pulling their money out of the markets because they are not sure of what's going to happen. Here's the big concern. Nobody trusts the Federal Reserve. Nobody believes the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. And one of the big concerns right now is that the United States is bound for a recession. Yeah, for a recession. I've been saying this for, a couple months now, is that there's a high likelihood. But it probably wouldn't happen until after the midterm elections. Well, here's what economists are saying. Multiple economists are now predicting that due to the fact that the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell stated that anything more than a 50 basis point rate hike is not even being considered, well, this has many economists worried that the Federal Reserve is what they're doing right now won't be enough. They're going to attempt to slow down inflation, but they may not bring it down. But there are a handful of experts that believe these moves by the Federal Reserve are politically motivated. And you're probably wondering, well, how or why? How could this even be? Well, here's the thinking behind this. Democrats are worried that if the United States is in a recession at the time of the midterm elections, then there's no chance that they remain in control of the House or the Senate. So, what we are seeing right now, according to some, is Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, he's trying to hold off on pushing too hard on our economy, which would send us into pretty much send us into a recession, but at least until after the midterm elections. Now, this is one way to think of this, and this is something that would help Democrats, as if we are not in a recession until after, right? That would help, because many voters would be like, well, we're not in a recession. The economy's doing okay, so we're just going to vote Democrats back in. But there's another way to think of this. Here's the other interesting thing. The chairman, Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve, he's actually a Republican. So there are other people, other economists that are currently seeing that what he's doing is holding off on putting the economy under more stress and pushing our economy into a recession until potentially closer to the election. Now, Democrats don't want us to go into a recession, especially before the election, because that would hurt them. But Republicans, on the other hand, what they could be trying to do is trying to delay, right? And so again, in the Federal Reserve, they're not supposed to be, Democrat, Republican, right? They're supposed to be right in the middle. They should have no bias, but obviously they do, okay? So what we are hearing right now is that what the Federal Reserve is doing, it could be politically motivated. They could be playing these games to try to get one party in versus another. Now, and many people question how the United States could end up in a recession when we have such a strong economy. Well, it's actually quite simple. And this is where stimulus comes in. A recession occurs when we see 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. We've already had one. Okay, we've already had 1 quarter of negative GDP. But the problem is that there was so much funding, so much stimulus pumped into our economy last year and even the year before that, that it makes it very easy to not spend now, that there's no additional stimulus flowing. That's a problem. Now, this includes personal spending and also business-related spending. And that's a huge issue. So what we could see right now is, stimulus caused so much additional spending, our GDP just went through the roof, but now it's actually causing a problem. It could push us into a recession. And that's what many economists are predicting. And this is one of the reasons why they are saying that we will be in a recession. It will be a mild recession. It might only last 1 quarter, but we will be in a recession. It's just a matter of when and for how long. Now, here's what I can tell you. If we go into a recession, there will be no additional talks of more aid, more stimulus, more funding for the American people. It will not happen. We will not see an extension of the child tax credit payments. There's no way we're going to see another stimulus check. We will not see more social spending programs get passed, because not only are Republicans going to vote against it, moderates are going to vote against it, and some Democrats are going to think, okay, maybe now is not the time. We need to rethink our plan. So the expectation is the more reports we get of a recession, the more we see the stock market sell off. This could just be more pain. Does not mean more pain means more money coming to the American people. That's not going to happen. So I wish I could tell you that there's better news on the horizon, but that's not the case. But here's one thing I want you to do. One thing I want you to do is make sure you click that subscribe button down below and also click that notification bell so you never miss an update. And the reason I say this is because over the next few weeks, I'm going to be providing more than just economic updates. I'll be providing actual steps you can take to make sure your finances are in order, to make sure you have maybe another business or a side hustle that you can turn to put more money back into the bank. And I want to make sure that you are ready. You're financially ready for whatever may come. So that's one thing I promise to you. I will get you ready for whatever's going to come. If it's a recession, you will be ready. All right? So just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.